Hi guys, welcome back to In Case of Econ Struggles. If you're finding these videos helpful, make sure to like and subscribe. Today we're going to talk about why the inputs, so labor and capital, are paid their marginal products, that is their wages, and the rental rate is equal to the marginal product of labor and the marginal product of capital in terms of a conceptual understanding. Then we'll talk about it algebraically, and then we'll talk about it using some calculus, again, all relating to that profit maximization problem we've seen before in micro. So let's go ahead and get started. So what do we know? We know from micro, from the profit maximization problem, that our profit maximization happens when marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. And now I want to make that a little more general. I'm going to say this is when the marginal benefit is equal to the marginal cost. And you'll see why in a second. But let's keep thinking marginal benefit equals marginal cost. So now let's think about a worker, and let's think about the worker's marginal benefit and marginal cost. Well, we know that the marginal cost is just equal to the wage. That's whatever we're going to pay him. What is the marginal benefit? What do I get when I hire a worker? Well, I definitely get the price that I'm selling whatever I'm making for. So if I'm selling ice creams and ice creams are $5 an ice cream, then I'm getting some scalar of the $5. How many of those $5 do I get? Well, I get $5 times the extra ice creams that I'm able to sell when I hire another worker. What is the number of extra ice creams that I'm able to make when I hire that extra worker? Well, it's just the marginal product of labor. So marginal benefit equals marginal cost. All right, that just means that W is equal to price times the marginal product of labor. Or you can think of it as W over P is equal to the marginal product of labor. Okay, we can do something very similar to capital. So I'm going to go a little quicker here. Now for capital, again, very, very similar. What is the marginal cost of an extra unit of capital? Well, that's just the rental rate R. The marginal benefit of hiring that extra machine, hiring or renting that extra machine is going to be just the price times the number of extra ice creams that I get when I install that extra machine, or price times the marginal product of capital, which means that the rental rate is going to be equal to the price times the marginal product of capital, or the rental rate over the price is going to be equal to the marginal product of capital. So what is another way we could talk about this? We could set up the profit maximization problem, take some first order conditions, and we would get the same thing. Remember that the profit maximization problem, we are maximizing over our choice of labor and capital, and it's going to be price times our production function, so some function of capital and labor. Then we have to pay our workers and we have to pay our machines. So I'm just going to call this thing right here, I'm just going to call this equal to Z. You'll see why in a second. So let's just take some first order conditions. So let's take the partial derivative of this thing Z, which I'm calling the entire profit maximization equation with respect to labor. And I'm going to get price times the marginal product of labor, because it's dF of KL with respect to L, minus W equals 0. This thing right here, we know to be the marginal product of labor. This is price. We can move the W over and we get that same expression that we saw up top. Similarly, we can take the first order condition with respect to capital. We're going to get price. We're going to get the partial derivative of this production function with respect to capital. We're going to get minus R, and we set that equal to 0 because it's the first order condition. Once again, we know that this is the marginal product of capital. Here's the price, and that's going to be equal to, that's going to be equal to the rental rate. So hopefully this was helpful and helps you get a better understanding for why the inputs are paid their marginal products in a competitive labor and capital market. If it did, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time for another case of Econ Struggles.